My final semester at Columbia College, I was studying directing. I directed 1984 by George Orwell, and it made me very excited about the genre. I liked what I was able to say with science fiction that I wasn't able to say with the more modern plays. And then Ray Bradbury died, and Ray Bradbury was my favorite author. His death was kind of devastating to me in a very unique way. I kind of, after that, had a little voice in my head that maybe it was him. I like to think it was him in some way, telling me this is something that I should really do. I should really pursue this science fiction and fantasy theater. Our first show was Fahrenheit 451. We also made it a part of this Ray Bradbury Festival, and it took place 1 year after his death. And that's how Otherworld was born.
Fahrenheit 451 has always been one of my favorite pieces, and I really couldn't wait to see what the company would do with that. This was also the first production where our present company first met and got together and got excited and ignited about joining Otherworld as ensemble members. It was so beautifully staged and so beautifully done. We were collecting books like mad. If you know the story, you know it's about book burning. It's very timely, it's political, it's social, it's about relationships, but the book burning was really important. As an educator, books are sacred. The way the set was put together was that it was made of books, and Tiffany and her set designers stacked them up in kind of an undulating curve, and I thought that was so innovative and so just amazing.
I think Fahrenheit 451 is still probably my favorite. It was an ambitious project given that it was her first show outside of Columbia. Great cast, a solid source material. Right from the beginning, Tiffany was able to really find talented people in which to work with. It was the first one that really gave me an idea, not just Tiffany's ambition, but her ability to really think outside the box in terms of presenting stuff that would seemingly be impossible to do without a significant budget. But it was very well received. I still get feedback from it, and that was 4 years ago. I think it was maybe the night after we had wrapped that run that she had asked me if I wanted to join Otherworld and be a part of the ensemble. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to, anybody that'll have me, I'm happy to join up.
Of Dyson Men, it's kind of a Valentine to our core audience. We are a company that is strongly supported by the geek and nerd community, people that always have our back and are always there to support us. And it's a funny, heartwarming tale. The jokes completely revolve around their life experiences and the games that they enjoy playing. It was really a tribute to our fans. For me, it holds a special place in my heart. And I got to play a paladin, which, I mean, once again, I play roles with Otherworld Theatre that the only other way I would be playing these roles is if I was cosplaying or I was in a major motion picture. And that's a pretty awesome opportunity to be able to play a cyborg version of Claudio from Much Ado About Nothing, or Guy Montag, one of the most famous characters in science fiction literature, or John Carter, another hero that goes and saves the planet of Mars. I mean, these are wild opportunities that not every actor gets, and I'm incredibly grateful for it, and it's something that I think makes Otherworld extremely unique and awesome.
I think my favorite, just by an inch, is the Aurora Project. The fact that it was done in such a tiny space with not a whole lot, and it was so immersive and telling and humanizing and touching. I still have memories of watching that show, and I loved it so much.
Queen Amarantha, even though I didn't see it because I was in it, but it's because it touched upon a core truth for me, which is gender fluidity and understanding behaviors placed on gender types and breaking the wall of recognizing that you don't have to. Gone Dark was really cool because it was immersive and it had a really great space and the fight was awesome, but I was in both of these. Princess of Mars was great too. Oh, I'm messing up. I kind of like them all. Yeah, is that bad?
Gone Dark, because it was so much different, like from the top down from other shows I had worked on, that I got to do essentially a period piece that involved heavy amounts of fighting with real weapons. There were vampires and we got to do the promenade style show where we were using an actual physical location that matched the set that we wanted. And we got to ask the audience to travel all the way through this 100-plus-year-old Gothic church. It was one of the most immersive and submersive theatrical experiences I've ever been a part of.
I loved it. It was the one show that I was the least involved with, so it was the one I went the most blind into, but it's great. And it's led by this mysterious lantern bearer who actually has some narrative importance at the end, but I won't spoil it because it's great, even though the show's over. But I'm still not going to spoil it in case we ever remount it, I guess. I remember the first time we're getting led through this dark corridor, you hear something drop behind you, and everybody like gasps and turns. But you don't know if that was just an accident, that like some actor knocked something over, or if that was intentional, and that's kind of beautiful because it just worked in the setting, and you don't need it to make sense. It all culminates to this beautiful scene in the pews of the church with all this like shadow lighting with these trees and the moon, and it really feels like you're outdoors in some dark woods and some monsters might be about, and this actor jumps from the top of the pews in this vampire form, and there's this great fight scene, and it was just some of the most fun I've ever had in theater. So Gone Dark 100% is my favorite thing we've done.
I feel like that's where our combat level really rose substantially. I mean, the fighting was amazing. The lights were amazing. The space, I feel it really embodied exactly what we do well, which is take something that you wouldn't think we could put on like such an amazing production there and then just do it.
I did a Shakespearean adaptation called Messina 3004, and it was an adaptation of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. The show that we ended up with was really cool, and it was interesting to infuse Shakespeare with real science fiction elements. I don't think it's enough to just do Shakespeare and put on costumes and say, now this is a genre piece. You really have to embed the genre into the Shakespearean text.
Fight Quest, just because of its variables, you know. You have to create many different outcomes within fights, and at the end of the fights, that would always change depending on the night. So you'd have to really trust your partners to be there with you on the same page, that even if something messes up, you'd be able to work through it and not let anyone see.
Fight Quest has got to be the thing I'm most proud of, just because it was the thing that I was the most involved with, and it was well received, and it was so much fun.
It has been just the most fun in the whole world to do Fight Quest this year. I think that really spoke to our fans the most so far, and to see the audience get so hyped about this thing was the best.
Princess of Mars is probably my favorite overall, just watching it as an audience member, because I think the adaptation that was done by Nick and Tiffany was fantastic, and I thought everything about the show was really great.
There were just so many fight scenes in it. We got it all done in the end, but it was tight.
We just basically grabbed all of the weapons we could, gave them out to people, trained them how to use them, and were able to stage 15 fights with people who didn't automatically know what they were doing, which is always challenging, but it's a fun challenge.
We were able to breathe life into this script in a completely different way than the movie John Carter did. Our fans who would come up to us after the show, and some of them being lifelong Princess of Mars fans, telling me thank you for breathing life into this character and letting me for the first time see my John Carter up on stage. And it wasn't so much my performance as an actor or anybody else's. It was the fact that theater allows you the same freedoms that novels do. We set the guidelines, but then so much of it is up to your imagination. And that's something that science fiction and fantasy theater is able to accomplish that films can't. The film is a complete depiction of what the director's vision was. That's what you get with a film. The play is a complete depiction of what your imagination sees. Only so much is on stage. The rest is you building that world in your head. And that's why science fiction and fantasy works on stage. And that's why it works in a completely different way than film does.
Science fiction and fantasy fill two different needs within us, and I feel like doing them, you can discover a lot about the human condition.
You can play more with the audience's imaginations while also getting the catharsis and the emotional impact that you want out of storytelling and be intellectually stimulating. Why not throw lasers and vampires into the mix? And I think that in general allows people to expand the way that they think about their own world, or at least see the more fantastical elements within it.
It's an underrepresented genre in theater. We get to say things like, oh, we put on the largest sci-fi fantasy play festival in the world, which is true, but no one else is doing it, which makes us kind of the forerunners in a way, and that's pretty exciting.
These are our stories going back to when we were tribes. They are the Epic of Gilgamesh, they are Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, they are Virgil's the Aeneid, they are the Bible, literally the stories that shaped mankind. And we're still using these types of stories to explain the world we live in and dream about the type of world that we could be living in.
And I think it's also important because sci-fi and fantasy are a way for people to escape for a couple of hours, whether it be in a movie or in a book or in a theater, on stage. And if it gives them joy for 2 hours, then maybe they go out into the world and they've had a good time and they smile a little bit more. And maybe they're inspired by what they've seen on stage and what the future could possibly be. So let's strive for that.
I think it's just very important to break a mold. We have a habit in theater of believing that there are certain things that are held as sacred that, like, you cannot change in theater and things that you just cannot do in theater. But the fact of the matter is that doesn't draw in as many new crowds. The shows I've done with Otherworld bring in the most people outside of just other theater people, just walk-ins that I've ever seen in a production that I've been a part of outside of, like, a big named company like The Goodman. The productions that we've done, sci-fi and fantasy, that's something that people are actively interested in right now. They want to see it. It's not only a niche we're filling, but it's kind of where we're heading in this time in the world where everybody wants to either look towards the future or dwell in the fantastical, and that's what we're giving them.
So it's the 4th year of the Juggernaut Festival. I attended the last 2, and this year I'm the curator. I'm really excited. It's going to be at the Music Box. There are already some amazing films. We've got a ton of submissions, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see how far people go to showcase a feeling through sci-fi or fantasy, and there's a potential that we're trying to open it up a little bit to horror. I've been doing film for the past couple of years as a producer and an actor, but I have not seen a festival like this. Last year it was incredibly well attended because I don't think anyone has recognized how many films are out there that you don't get to see, especially shorts. It's a weekend of just kind of being able to sit back and relax and enjoy what people have put out there, sci-fi fantasy, and it kind of blows your mind in various ways.
Paragon is our science fiction and fantasy play festival. It's by far the thing that I'm most proud of with Otherworld. It is 40 plays in 2 days. It is the largest science fiction and fantasy play festival in the world. In 2 days, we immerse hundreds of people in the world of science fiction and fantasy theater. People in the theater community and people in the science fiction and fantasy community. That kind of exposure is exactly what Otherworld needs to be able to accomplish our ultimate goal, which is to carve out a large niche for ourselves in the theater community as a whole.
I love that our company has fans and followers and people who believe in our mission that come from all walks of life and not just the theater scene here in Chicago. I would love for Otherworld Theatre to be able to give our patrons exactly what they're missing in the theater world, to continue on the path of providing those people with the theater that they want to see and the escapism that they want to be a part of.
I think it would be great to have a home that would be the very first theater dedicated to the performance of science fiction and fantasy, the only one in the world. We could have a place so that we always have our rehearsals. We could have a place to workshop. We could have a place to have classes.
I think generally I just want to see our productions just wow people even more and surprise them in what can be done in theater. So, magic.
My biggest goal for Otherworld Theatre is for us to become a destination for writers. I would like to see novelists, screenwriters, science fiction and fantasy writers in general look at Otherworld Theatre as a place where they can go to have their work produced.
Directors, technicians, designers will hopefully begin to see, like, this is the place to come to. That Otherworld can be a home not to just its own ensemble, but to the wider Chicago theater community, that this is a place that you can work and tell stories and be taken care of, and tell stories that are not being told necessarily anyplace else.
Otherworld is the only company that's doing this kind of work in Chicago, and one of the only companies that's doing this kind of work in the world. We're very proud of the fact that we do these shows on shoestring budgets, but we are doing these shows adding spectacle, fantastic, and sci-fi elements, immersive elements, and a huge percentage of how we are able to do that is not just through ticket sales, but through donations.
We're a rapidly growing company. We want to do bigger work. We want to do better work. and we just like to keep going and keep growing, and we need your support to do that. We're doing work already that is not seen around theater, and if you like theater, you want to see theater grow and evolve and maybe even get to a point where it's more recognized and more people are actively seeking it out, then we're the company to donate to.
People should definitely donate to Otherworld Theatre Company, because all of us donate our time. And in order for us to continue doing this kind of work and bringing you this kind of theater that really there is an appetite for here in Chicago and really in the world, we need to have that money so we can put that into the creative process.
I think it's important for donors to know where their money is going and what they're helping us buy, and that is first and foremost just space. There could be best case scenarios of charging $20, $25 a ticket, say, which is more than we really would like to have to charge. And if we sold out every show, that could still maybe just cover the cost of the space.
People should donate if they believe in what we're doing, and I think anyone who sees what we are doing and sees the amount of effort we put into the work that we do and the type of work that we are trying to do and bring to the Chicago theater community and the theater scene in general. They're amazing shows, and it's a kind of theater you are not going to see anywhere else in Chicago. And for specific events like the Juggernaut Film Festival or the Paragon Play Festival, you won't see that anywhere else in the world. And we're always expanding and we're always trying new, ambitious things. So if you really believe in science fiction and fantasy genres, period, I encourage you to come out, see any Otherworld productions, attend any of our festivals or events, and it'll be hard not to donate a little bit of money.
Tiffany is a wizard with doing amazing things with little or no money. If we can do this much with little or no money, think of what we can do if we have a real budget and are able to pay people so that they can spend more time working on our projects. We want to involve more of the community, and we need money to do that. And if we get money, I think you'll be really surprised at what we're able to do with it. The more you put into us, the more we will be able to give you as artists and as citizens.
If you want to participate in Otherworld Theater, if you want to be part of bringing the magic, you can be a part of our quest. You can be a part of our journey. It's always exciting and it's always innovative. We're always building something great and new, and you can be a part of it.